Battletoads may be one of the hardest NES games, but it may be shocking to learn that in Japan, Battletoads is a walk in the park. US Battletoads was first, and then Japan. And with the Japanese release, the game was neutered. You see, this is what happens when initial criticism reshapes the product, leading to this wild comparison. These games are very different. It really boils down to three main things. 1, the visuals. 2, the gameplay. And 3, the entertainment value. First track. Now first, the easy one, the visuals. Now there's not a whole lot that's visually different. The only really major difference is any cutscene. The US tries to be funny with dad jokes. You're gonna give me that good enough to burn. That's so stupid. Just got a warm reception, eh? You see, the next level is a fire level. So you get it, like, good enough to burn, warm reception. Moving up in the world, you get it? That's stupid. Because elevators move up. Sometimes, though, Dad tells a good one. Trying to be careful, and that makes me do worse. Sent you home because you obviously weren't feeling too good. Sometimes they're funny. Now, not being able to read Japanese, the cutscenes were kind of like, you know, your cool uncle you knew nothing about. It just like cut to the chase in English. 1 mile! On a side note, visually, there are entire sections that is like completely gone from the Japanese. And yeah, as far as sound, they pretty much sound identical, but there's no pause beat in the Japanese. Which the first 2 levels are identical. Now the real changes begin with level 3, the turbo tunnel. Now with this being such a notorious roadblock for new players, I guess they figured, hey, let's make it less significant and take away the challenge, just like they told us. This level is so much easier in the Japanese version. I'm just like talking. This level is so hard in the American version. So hard in the American version. No problem. The sound of the walls passing in Japan is about 130 BPM. In US, it's like about 170. I did it. I did it. Now the term BPM may not mean anything to you, but the difference between 130 and 170 is like classic rock versus a dance song. And it's not just the speed, it's also there's less enemies and less obstacles. And the Japanese. What happened to you? You're not really standing up for yourself. You're living for you're just saying how you don't want to be afraid by not talking about them, but then you're like, so what? That's not the thing. The thing is you're just not doing it. The intensity, it's just not there in Japan. Next up, Arctic Caverns. Long story short, it's a US release with less hazards. Short story long, there are less obstacles, less one-hit deaths, and pretty much everything else is just like slower or like there's not moving at all. I played the Japanese version first, and when I got here, I was like, this is like a whole different section. You see, it's a really interesting way to adjust the difficulty by like changing the entire level, like just like the sections of the level itself, rather than just like making the enemies hit harder or take more hits. It makes for like a really interesting comparison. I didn't know if it was gonna reappear or not. The mine was what was that? Oh my god, I beat it! Here's a level where I thought the difficulty was appropriate in the United States, but yet again, it's slower. The things are moving now. With less obstacles. And the mid-boss takes like half as many hits. The Toad's greatest enemy is the snake. Just like in level 6 Carnass Lair, with the snakes. Straight out of a Mickey D's play place. You know, honestly, I like this level. I think the changes they made in the Japanese version were for the better. It's slower. With less obstacles. And the snakes take like completely different paths. It's kind of like a remix, like Arctic Caverns or something. Speaking of completely different, Volkmer's Inferno. Checkpoint, thank God. I tried to get the fireball. This has got to be the most different level in this entire comparison. It's a lot slower. So like I said, this is the exact same pattern. It's just a lot faster. Literally the same pattern, just faster. And there's so many less obstacles. Now with the part like the vertical rockets, I did the Japanese version first. And like when I played that version, after like a couple tries, I would like literally just stay up in the top like left part of the screen. And like sometimes I would get hit, sometimes I wouldn't. Like I would get hit like maybe like 1 out of every 5 tries. Really like not often enough for me to like not do it anymore. But in the US, you have to dodge like the developers wanted you to. Really not confident still with that part. But the beginning with like less enemies in like the log part. That's nothing. This part is stay up in the top left, and we see one in the top right corner, that's when you dodge. Taking away the speed is like how easy the turbo tunnel wishes it was. The speed difference, it's so significant. The fireball part is actually challenging in the US. Extra life, there we go. The final part, like with like the gates in Japan, it's so slow. It's like a joke. I learned! I evolved! Now the final part of the final section with like the fast gates, the last section of it, it has like a pattern that I found in the US version. It's like it goes like in increments. It goes from like the bottom up, 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 and then all the way to the bottom. Now in Japan, it does do the same thing. But honestly, I didn't even notice it in the Japanese version because it was just easy, honestly. I literally didn't even know this was a pattern. Like in the US version, it was like, I had to know that was coming up, or it was like, I was not going to do it. It's so tough. Elevator shaft. That's all she says. Robo Masu. Whenever I think of this level, I just think elevator shaft, when it's really called intruder excluder. Honestly, it's kind of a dad joke a little bit. and I don't really like that title a whole lot, but whatever. Yeah, honestly, this level is like pretty forgettable in the Japanese version. I didn't really remember it too much. I had to rewatch my entire playthrough just to make notes. And honestly, there's a lot less hazards. They took away the enemies. And just like everything's slower. They were like, yeah, take away the enemies, their speed, one-hit deaths, and make the boss a pushover. Yeah, that's the ticket. God. Honestly, after watching the Japanese playthrough, the end boss is like so much easier. Let's see, if I die and have to go through that entire level again. Up next, Terror Tubes. One of the longer, more thought out levels, and honestly, I think the game gets pretty good during the last stretch of levels. But yeah, the US release is like full of one-hit deaths. And in Japan, they took away enemies that kill in one hit. I was punching, clearly. Ugh. There's just less enemies in general in Japan. God. Like 4 of them shot at once. And like the gear auto scroller part in Japan, it's just like way easier. When they made this game easier, it's not even just the big changes, like how they took away the spikes that kill in one hit in the auto scroller part. It's like the little things you wouldn't really notice, like the gear in the American version. It leaves like a half a second earlier, or like goes faster, or maybe both. Really, you don't really notice stuff like that easily, at least. Wow. He got in like a loop there at the end. What happened? Dude, what happened? Oh my god. That's where I was just like, I guess I'm done for the day. And I turned the console off. As far as comparing the US version and the Japanese version of Rat Race, it's not dramatically different. Besides like your typical, it's slower. This is the part that kills me. He's just faster than you. With less one-hit deaths. And the only real enemy, being the boss, takes like half as many hits. Oh my god, thank the Lord. Oh! Japanese Rat Race was a pushover. I really don't even remember it, honestly. You take away the speed, you take away the whole challenging level. The US version, it spikes so dramatically in difficulty on the third rat. The level is divided into like 3 rats. The first rat in the US version is like a 2 out of 10 difficulty. It's really not hard. It's just to kind of like learn how to do the section. The second one is like maybe like a 5 out of 10. It's harder, but it's still not really even hard. Then the third one, this one just goes to 11. It's so dramatically difficult. It's outrageous all of a sudden. And then sometimes, after that final rat, the game would soft lock.
That's the worst.
God! It's just, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. All right. Really, that was not coming closer. Are you kidding me? That's insanity how close that was. That's literally the end. That's literally the exact second you end. The end, the boss literally was going to in the end into the boss animation. That's so stupid, dude. Japanese Klingelringer, yet again, forgettable because they like took away all the challenge. The US version apparently is frame perfect, and yeah, that means you need to be like super accurate. In my experience, you get like maybe like 3 or 4 mistakes, which adds up like super fast because there's like 30 or 40 turns. Yeah, and at this point in the game, my thumb just gets like super tired because Rat Race right before it is just like constant movement the entire time. So honestly, like, I decided to use warps just to warp to Klingerwinger to get more practice to beat it. Because it's like, I did all these attempts where it was like, I would play like all 10 levels or 11 or whatever, and then die on Klingerwinger like 30 times, like super fast, and then to play the entire game again. So I was like, let me just warp to it and then beat it, and then beat the next level. And just like Rat Race, outside of the auto-scroller, it's not really a whole lot different. Besides like the boss sphere thing, it takes less hits. Oh, way through it! God, why did he grab it? I don't know how far back this checkpoint is. It's crazy. Crazy. It's just stupid. Speaking of stupid, it's so dumb. That's even dumber. It doesn't make any sense at all. The Revolution. It's a level that rotates. Do you get it? It's also the final level of the entire game. And surprisingly, not that changed. But as usual, the enemies are easier. Come on, dude. So you gotta do it. You gotta hit him in the back because he might hit you if you jump towards his mouth. Because that's apparently him attacking. I don't know if it makes a difference if you punch him. I'm probably gonna stop trying to hit him. Obstacles are also easier. But the final boss, Dark Queen, takes like the same amount of hits. It's like the same fight. Dang. Oh, I got her! Yes! Oh. That's right, she can still kill you when she's... For the intermission, I want to put an offer on the table. If I get enough interest, I will beat Battletoads one-handed, just like I did Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's only a matter of time until I'm actually able to beat him. I'm not saying this time I'll beat him, just saying at some point I'll probably beat him. Check out this link for the full Mike Tyson victory. One-handed. Boom! One-handed. Turbo Total. Defeated! Whew. Give me slip sliding. It's an ice level. Get it? If you're not enjoying your time, then you are wasting it when it comes to playing a video game. It's for entertainment value. And this is where this video ends. Entertainment value to me is driven by fundamental differences between the US and the Japanese version. Obviously, at this point, it's just my own opinion, but it really boils down to glitches, difficulty, quality of life improvements, and a whole bunch of miscellaneous.
What happened? Look at this. What, the glitch?
Now these crazy glitches that just happened for some reason, I don't know what I did, so I couldn't recreate them. I assume they were either because of a hardware limitation or just poor programming. Like in the surf level where you just like fell off the edge and just kept going until I beat it or something. All these glitches that happen, I don't remember anything like that happening in the Japanese version, so I assumed all that was ironed out.
Like I haven't touched the Everdrive. What is going on? I cannot do this. This is so hard. This is impossible. He's like, what's going on? What the frog is going on? I don't know, you tell me.
The glitches are random and make an already difficult game tougher. In the US, you get 3 lives. Start, continue, 3 lives. Japan, you get 5 lives. So at the bare minimum, it's already easier. In the US, you gotta point farm. Basically, point farming meaning like you kill as many enemies as you can so you can get extra lives. It's essential. In Japan, it's optional. And in Japan, everything is easier, slower, weaker, and there's less of them. This is part difficulty and quality of life improvement. In Japan, they fixed the bug that stopped you from being able to beat Klingelmenger 2-player. Like in the US, there was like this glitch where you couldn't beat Klingelmenger with 2 players. You would like beat 2 Klingelmenger, and then the second player would like game over and drop out, and then you would get to the next level, and then like you would bring them back. I don't know, it's pretty janky, but they fixed that in the Japanese version. Also in Klingelmenger, they made it easier, which I do think is one of the more appropriate changes. And with that quality of life improvement, there's a lot of like just little things you wouldn't really notice scattered throughout the game. One that I think of is in Turbo Tunnel. This enemy spawns like in a super easy spot to kill yourself. You just jump right off into the lava. They removed this entirely in Japan. Karnat's Lair, slower in Japan, which makes it easier, but like they take out this really annoying thing where like in the US, the snakes would go so fast, sometimes you would just like fall through and like just die. They took that out entirely.
I was on him again!
Speaking of like just going slower, Intruder Excluder, elevator shaft, they made the platform slower, which is good because like there's less cheap deaths. Like in the US version, a lot of times I just fall through, like all of it just die really fast. It was awful. It makes it more playable. It's good for sure. Hater to love it. This game was like a troll before trolling was like really official.
Oh my god. She killed me. Ah! I cannot believe that happened to me. That is a fail. Literally my last life. Oh my god, they saw me back at her. That is so nice.
Turbo Tunnel Troll is like my favorite in the entire game. First time I like got to there in the US version, like it got me so good. Sadly, they took that out. The hurdle, my favorite troll, in the Japanese version. It's a shame. Yeah, and my last miscellaneous point that I want to make is in the rare replay, they use the American version. Out of all the things they could have changed, they like changed some sound effects. But I mean, whatever. Like I said, look, they don't. Why they're not making sound? They're not making sound. Like you watch Cabby Land or whatever. In conclusion, a new level in Japan will be hard and then just like evolve into annoying. In the US, it's hard, annoying, and then you have just like get better at the game. And then when you do, you finally beat it like in this one glorious moment. Basically, Japanese Battletoads is frustrating, while United States Battletoads is challenging. It's consistent like the entire game. This is like major changes, and then a bunch of little small minor tweaks just to make it that much easier. Personally, my advice to beating the US Battletoads, start with Japan first, and then move to US. It's hard, don't give up.